Hey, Addicts.
What's up, guys? We're back today. He's
actually here.
I hurt myself with the jump there, but we're here with Danmachi. I know I've been gone for a while. I've been sad that I wasn't also been here, and now I'm happy to be back. So we're gonna start off with the bang. And first, so today we're going to do a Danmachi discussion.
We are.
But first, we wanted to clarify some things moving forward with Danmachi, both with the movie and the book coming out. So Josh, you can talk.
Yeah, because it's been several weeks since you've probably last seen us with a movie talk, and that's because we haven't had any really news. The movie released in Japan, and I scrolled through like the official Danmachi Twitter for like 3 hours and was able to find like very little info. Like they are planning to release it here in like the UK and some other places for like an actual theater release, but they have not said whatsoever, and there hasn't been any like dates released since like the Friday that the movie actually came out. They've released like a few other things, but nothing in terms of like what we're getting. So, we're not gonna have any like even the pirated stuff isn't out, so we have to wait. Unfortunately, sad news.
Yeah, I don't know. It may be a year, it may be 6 months. We'll have to find out. So, but
we'll keep you
posted. Yeah. But the good news is that besides the movie and besides the second season, which we still haven't got any more rumors for, there is one more thing that we're excited for, and that is the book, which is coming out here in the near future. By the time you watch this video, it may have been already out or shortly coming out.
Yeah.
March 18th, 2019. For those who, at least in the States, I don't know other places because,
it's already probably been out for like an hour, or not an hour, a year.
Probably in Japan. Yeah. But, so this arc, this is the start of a new arc, which we thought we were going to get with the last book, but the last book was kind of like almost a standalone in some ways.
It was a pleasant surprise. I'm not complaining.
I'm not complaining about it. It was a good surprise. But so this one is going to be starting with the person whose names I can't say, Elf Lady.
Because the translation's weird. It's either Ryu or Liu. It changes between each one.
Yeah. But so she's in trouble, and Belle's going to go rescue her. We'll probably do another speculation video or something like that, or we'll just wait for it to come out and then do a full review. But after that, you should be looking forward to review maybe the next week or whenever we get to finish the book. Usually with those kind of books, we go through them pretty quickly. So we'll get that to you, and we're excited. We're Danmachi. It's been a long time, 6 months since we've gotten a book, and even longer since we've gotten any discussion up. Pretty much, I don't know. But so now. End scene, we're going to talk about what our discussion topic for today is.
Yeah, which we're talking about everybody's favorite topic. Yes, that's a joke. But I still really enjoy it, and that is the Xenos. We're here to talk about, two questions, basically. One, and it's kind of related to Xenos, is how the dungeon works. Do we think it's changed forever going forward? And then the second question that we're going to be answering is the Xenos' future. Do we think that Belle's idea for the Xenos is possible, or do we think it's going to end up a different way for them at the end? So I guess we'll just start with the first question. This might be really odd to start with this one first, but we'll start with it anyway. So what do you think about the dungeon?
So there's a lot of information in Danmachi, but there's also a lot of questions that we haven't...
Spoilers for the books, by the way.
Spoilers for the books that we haven't had answered yet. When it comes to the dungeon, we're introduced to Xenos, I think, in book 10, and a book 10 or in a book 11. I don't remember at this particular moment. I think in a book 10, or maybe in a book 9, actually. But
we have seen inklings of it in the anime and stuff like that.
We have seen that, yeah. So there has been a massive change in the dungeon. I think one of the things that the books and the shows kind of explore but don't explain in detail is the relationship between Belle and the dungeon. It seems like every time he goes to the dungeon, it's an unfortunate event, but at the same time, it's an event to increase his strength. I think if you look at, even going back to him rescuing Lily, you go back to the last book where he had to face, a strong mutated monster. It seems like all of the happenings in dungeon, when one way or another, center around Belle, even though he's not the strongest. And that's kind of something where there is evidence, or people could say that the dungeon has changed forever since Belle became an adventurer, especially. Not only with the Xenos coming into contact, but you have with humans and actually existing in the world officially, and then you have the guild mission as well, centering around Belle and kind of depending on Belle for the near future.
Yeah, I think the change it's not a bad challenge. I think it just adds more depth to the dungeon. Ha, no pun intended, because we don't know how deep it goes. But what I mean by that is, like, you know, we still have the threat of just regular monsters, overwhelming forces, stuff like that. But, you know, it adds, like, a new fear element to it of, like, are these monsters that I'm facing sentient? Are they going to be able to, you know, kind of expose some of the tactics that I'm using because of stuff that they've seen or just learned and adapted to? You know, it is changed, but I don't know if it's necessarily for, you know, worse. I think it's for the better. But as far as going forward in terms of, like, the difficulty, that's just going to happen regardless, because they're going down farther. But I think the way the dungeon works, I mean, you know, obviously how people actually interact with the dungeon is going to be different, because, you know, we may see more restrictions and letting, you know, because since there is sentient monsters, I would imagine that the guild's going to be like, okay, we have reports of, like, sentient monsters from this level down, so we're going to try to restrict smaller, maybe less capable familiars to going into those, because they're just going to get wrecked. And, you know, that doesn't mean that they're going to do that publicly. That may just be, like, you know, some law that they put in place and they don't really give a reason why, you know, because we know the guild is restricting information in terms of the Xenos. But I would say it's probably a yes, that it has changed forever. But I guess that does hinder on the question of the next one, in terms of how it is, because the Xenos future, you know. And do you think Belle's vision is possible? Because, or if it'll even happen? Because I feel like there's several possibilities that they could do to where they could just take the Xenos out completely if they wanted. Not saying that
that'd be a good choice.
Yeah,
a good creative choice.
That'd probably be like, you know, maybe if the author's back was up against the wall of everybody having pitchforks like they hate the Xenos, and he's like, well, it's overwhelming, I'll do something. I feel like that's the only scenario where that's really, you know, reasonable. But I think there is, you know, options for, like, twists. I was thinking the other day of like, you know, Freya, you know, and how she's eventually going to be incorporated into the story. And I thought maybe
eventually.
Well, I mean, she's
already
in there,
in the story, but yeah, I know what
like,
you mean.
has a more dominant presence. And I think one of the cool aspects would be, you know, her kind of ransoming the Xenos to have Belle, or to, you know, get him to do certain things that she wants. And, you know, we've already seen Freya, you know, she's starting to get more information about the Xenos. Like, I think in the last book we had, like, they were getting eavesdrops of little bits of information. They're like, hey, figure out what they're talking about, or figure out what's going on in this area. You know, I think they already have, like, an idea, but they're trying to, you know, confirm their suspicions so they can make a full-out plan. And so I think it would be really interesting to see, actually, maybe Freya holding all of them, because she does have probably the power to do that, and then also maybe even doing some manipulation thing, like try to do like Hermes did, but then take it a step further. It's like, yeah, I have them captive somewhere else. If you ever want to see them again, you have to do what I say. And then he finally decides that he's gonna go against her, and then he figures out, like, oh, she just, like, killed all of them.
Yeah, I mean,
like,
something like that.
You know, something like that. That's a little extreme. You know, that's where speculation comes in, but you know, I feel like something of that nature is possible if they wanted to.
And you know, it's hard because we don't really know if the dungeon is like a person, a god, an intelligent being. Mm-hmm. We haven't really seen what the true purpose of the Xenos are. You know, they've been created, but we haven't seen. So one of the things that I think has been a major theme in the last couple books has been that humanity is almost universally the bad guys. Yeah. I mean, there's like some good humans, but for the most part, they're just jerks and they're really selfish. So I don't know. I think there's there's many approaches that the author can come through for the future of the Xenos. I think Belle's plan, or they're living in cooperation with humans, it's probably not going to happen for a long period of time. I think it would be easier if Belle established like his own country or nation, with, you know, his familia, maybe some other people that are loyal to him, and then the Xenos and them coexisting. Mm-hmm. Similar to, like, in Overlord, in the last Overlord, where they have, like, you know, like skeleton creatures with people, mm-hmm. you know, like living in cooperation, cohabitation, etc. So I think that's another possibility, is him setting up his own country outside of Ortario, Orario, whatever.
Yeah. There's one thing, I don't know, I just thought of it right here, because we know that the Xeno, or just monsters in general, they get reincarnated. Same as, like, people, I guess, in the world, too. But the dungeon's a little bit different in how fast they reincarnate and stuff like that. So it would be interesting if, one of them does fall in battle that, and they're really close to, like, let's say Ween, like, let's say she stayed dead when she died. It does, I think, bring a certain level of intrigue and also different devotion for Bell, because maybe he's going into the dungeon not necessarily to get stronger. Well, maybe it is to get stronger too, but have a side objective of being like, I'm looking for them being reborn again. And that's also another interesting, because we don't really know if they reincarnate the same way.
Yeah,
because
it's not like a guarantee. The only reference we have is the Minotaur guy.
Yeah, and he was the same. So that's why. Well, not really, because they say he's like a bullish thing in the book. I don't know. It's really weird. But yeah, so what would you think? I guess you already said that you think Bell's is kind of impossible the way he envisions it. He'd have to kind of tweak some things.
Yeah, I mean, I think the author, when he brought out that idea, I think it pairs perfectly with Bell's idealism that he's had throughout the series.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know how it would take form is kind of different. I feel like in the last arc we've kind of established humans are mostly jerks, and there's also gods that are jerks like Hermes.
Yeah.
So I think I don't know, it'd be hard for him to really achieve his goal as described in the earlier books.
I think there's some people, I think in a new world, like if maybe, like you said, separate or just like years down the road, if somebody, he's going to have conflict for people like that are already living in the world, right? But the newer generation that's bringing up, and they kind of already experimented this a little bit with the children, where they're like, oh, that monster saved me. That's actually a good monster. I believe, like what he was saying. So like that would be Bell's biggest challenge, is the people that are already out there, because like you've seen, like, well, it's the Loki Familia. They just want to kill.
At least Finn is like, yeah.
Yeah. Well, Eyes is like pretty strong-willed, even though she never says anything.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting dichotomy, because you have Finn on one side where he's like, yeah, I'm going to do whatever to get strong and kill these monsters, and you have like the Amazons and Eyes to a certain extent.
I think Eyes is just jealous that a monster's more expressionate than her.
Probably. But you have people on the other side who are like, yeah, once they figured out that the monsters actually had emotions and feelings, they're like, yeah, we probably can't kill them.
The strange thing too is, and we've brought this up a little bit, but I think this is a good video to bring it up again, in Sword Ortario, at least the anime part, we see that it's really weird how they classify the monsters they're going up against. Like the one guy they classify as like a sentient monster, or basically like the same description as like the Xenos. And so, and they've like seen little glimpses of it. So that's why I'm like, why are they so shocked in the books when they they find it so hard to believe that the monsters have sentience, even though they clearly see a guy that's like merged with like a monster.
It's a small world.
I think, I don't know. There's just a lot of things they could go for the Xeno's future, but I think it's definitely gonna play a bigger role.
I hope the Xeno's arc, and I'm sure there's people out there who disagree, but I hope the arc maintains its importance throughout the rest of the series. So I feel like if they all do die, I think that'd be even a waste of a lot of character development.
Because we had
or
3
if they
books
get abandoned, or if they get, some of them can die. Maybe Leto has to sacrifice himself, or something to that extent. But especially with like the last book making it a huge point that Bell would like defy Hermes' wishes, and I don't know if that's not the last book, but the one before, defy the gods, and like he won't kill a Xeno. If then it's like, oh, actually they just all died a little bit later. It's like, well, now looking back, that book doesn't have as much impact or make that much sense in the development of Bell.
Do you think it would change his things going forward?
I mean, obviously, if they all die, then yes. But I feel like the overall...
But in a negative way?
I just don't think it pairs well with what they've presented in the past with those books. I feel like if they throw away those characters and be like, well, yeah, Bell needs to develop, so they're all going to die so that he can develop, I think it's a waste of the material they've had previously. Especially, like the development of Hermes as kind of like a villain or an enemy, that, you know, there's just too much connected to the Xenos right now for them to just throw the characters away or have them die, unless it's at like the very end, or it's, even so, I would have a problem reconciling that with the previous books.
I think the biggest thing that I want answered, or just maybe some little insight on, is you know, we know that a lot of gods, or at least Hermes, I guess I'll use as the example, of fascination with Bel, and we know that they want him for a specific goal in mind. There's like some event that they want him
slay them all
to accomplish, right? And then in the books we see them highlight that the Xenos, or the gods, have no idea what the Xenos are, and like they're a complete misstep of whatever, like the known gods
set up.
Yeah. So I want to see how the Xenos really interact with that main goal. Maybe it's one thing where it's more of like a side mission. It's like a side objective that may interact with his main goal, but it's not going to be the main focus into the main goal. But that's kind of one thing I'm interested to see how.
Yeah, we'll see in 40 volumes in 10 years. But yeah, I think the good thing about Danmachi is, even though we have a long way to go with the story, at least there's a strong foundation there. So as long as it doesn't have any out of character moments, I'm excited for what's happened with the Xenos in the near future. So
what if the dragon's a Xeno?
I think the dragon. I have a feeling that the dragon's gonna like convince Bel, like, yeah, all humans are jerks. Don't you understand how they treated the Xenos?
Yeah.
And then he's gonna go with like establishing a new country idea.
Do you think?
I don't think he can coexist with the humans that are in Ortario for much longer.
Do you think they're gonna pull something where it's like, oh, the Xenos they were made out of like the willpower of the monsters suffering? It's like, oh, we wanted to make our own gods that could protect us.
I don't know, maybe.
Be interesting. But yeah, I guess that'll conclude. We didn't really focus too much on the question. I guess we did. We jumped around a lot. We just talked about the Xenos in general. So
I think it's good information to speculate on.
Yeah. That
probably won't be true or matter at the end of the day, but
probably not.
There you go.
But there it is. So you can, if you're a Xeno fan, lo and behold, this is the video for you. But yeah, we're going to shut this down because we actually got several other ones we're going to record, which you're going to, I don't know when, see.
Maybe.
But that'll be it for this one. We will be back for more, and we're planning more stuff kind of like this, but branching out. So if you enjoy these types of videos, you're in luck, because we might touch on some other franchises. So, with that being said,
we all know that you love Danmachi, we love Danmachi. It's the core part of our channel, and we can't wait till we get more content for y'all.
That is true. I wish the movie was here.
All right, later, Addicts.
All right, see ya.